You are listening to the ReRACEables podcast. Good evening and welcome back to the ReRACEables podcast. Tonight, we're coming to you after episode 2 of The Amazing Race, season 34. And let's start right away. Tim and Rex, the golf buddies, the former head coach and his law enforcement friend, they're out. Initial reactions. Nicole, start us off.
I'm not very surprised. They struggle musically, clearly. And this was a very heavily musical leg. This was where they bid adieu.
I agree. And I just glanced at my rankings again. Why did I place them so high? This feels about right. After watching them for 2 episodes, I'm like, yeah, get out of here. And then I look at my rankings and I had them placed 5th, 6th,
7th. So
wow.
Yeah, to Lizzy's point, I had them 11th. Nicole had them 11th. Jeremy had them 12th. And
Yeah.
Lizzy, for some reason, had them 7th. And they go out in 11th place. In hindsight, probably should have had them 12th. Clearly, I was way off on Michael and Marcus, but the bigger point here is Tim and Rex are out.
Yeah.
They screwed up royally pretty much the whole time. Rex was terrible in the yodeling. It took them, I don't know how many times. And then they went to the detour, the bell's ringing, and they couldn't get on key for the life of them. Took them over, 8 to 10 times?
Mm-hmm.
Something crazy. So it seems like we had them pretty much dead to rights, except for Lizzy, but 11th place seems about right. We probably all should put him 12th. So kudos to Jeremy, actually, even though 2 of us got it right. Let's give it up for that.
I want kudos for getting it spot on. How about that?
Well, we can applaud ourselves, Nicole. Lizzy, and not so much, but
thank you.
Yeah. Ultimately, the 59-year-old former coach who lost 50 pounds, that really is the story to me of them that comes out of this. You feel good about that. You don't feel bad that they didn't win the money. Obviously, Rex has a ton of money, and since they're golf buddies, they probably play at all sorts of courses. I'm going to guess that Tim's not scraping his nickels together to get to the golf course. So you don't feel bad for them in that sense. They're nice guys. And like Phil said at the end, you feel, maybe we could have had some more antics from them and some funny moments like we had with Rex yodeling and sucking it up. Like he really sucked. But we knew that music was going to get somebody. And in this episode, it gets Tim and Rex.
I think with this challenge, the yodeling challenge, they were really trying to elicit a Donald, where's your trousers moment.
Did anyone deliver?
Well,
Penn would have killed this challenge.
Yes,
he would have dominated.
Yes, he would have.
I think I'm going to reach out to them and ask for Penn to do
his best yodel.
Yeah, he would have annihilated this challenge.
Absolutely.
But I think the one person that it did get, obviously, Rex, but the biggest one is Claire.
It was uncomfortable for me to watch. She was like talking about her anxiety, and every time she failed, I was like, oh my God, I'm more uncomfortable for you, because they did. And I think the reason is because they did so good in the last leg. So to see them sort of plummet so hard this leg, I was like, girl, what are you doing? But everybody has their strengths. So we're bound to see the range at some point this season for everybody, but I don't think I was expecting it this quick for her. So it was very off-putting.
Cole, you never saw a meltdown you didn't love.
Yeah, but this one wasn't funny. It was just like, yeah. Like when we watch Donald, where's your trousers? His failure was amazing. It was hilarious. Her failure was just Wow, you really stink at this.
Well, you know what? Claire's not a rune.
No,
No,
not at all.
not
We
even.
love you, Arun.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. It's humbling for her and Derek to know her weakness there. I think the worst part has to be the fact that they come in first in the first leg, then they're out in the front group to start the second leg. They get there first, and then obviously it's hard for us to know how long, but they're there for what has to be a really long time because they got out of there 10th and they started first at the roadblock. So an absolutely disgusting feeling that has to be in Claire's stomach. So how do you handle that if you're Claire?
I feel like she handled it sort of subdued. Like she's used to cameras being on her. I feel like they just got out of Big Brother and she didn't want to let herself have a giant meltdown. I feel like watching it, it was sort of internal and we were just kind of like aware of it. And I don't know if that was tactical or not. I feel like if I were to have a meltdown knowing I was on national TV, it probably would have gone the same way.
You were in first, everybody's coming and going, and you're still there, and you still suck, and you still have this challenge in front of you that you're not good at.
It's rough. And knowing that like her partner is there just watching helplessly, like he so badly just wanted to run up and hug her and celebrate like all the other partners were doing, one after the other, passing them.
It was also rough to learn that Derek has played piano his whole life. Like he's musical. He's a musical person. And so to like just let Claire do this, I don't know. It probably was her decision. I'm not saying he made her do anything or not do anything, but to like know that that is a strength that you have, and then to like let your partner, who I assume, like I don't know how long they've been dating, I don't know how well they know each other, but I would think you would have found out by now that your partner's tone deaf and like can't read a note, can't hit a note. Like,
Right. And this is why it's so important to know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then know your partner's strengths and weaknesses.
yeah, and I feel like that just like wasn't there, which makes me nervous because I have them ranked second, so I hope they get their shit together soon.
Well, and they did get their shit together eventually, and this was a tougher leg for a lot of teams. Maybe it didn't come across on the show as we're watching, but apparently there was more time than we realized to make up time with the navigating. But I also think about not just Claire's meltdown. I like how she did go back and try to start from the foundation, go learn the lyrics again, because the successful teams, Michael, Glenda, Linton, they all kind of, and Emily, they all kind of said once they learned the words that was kind of the key that unlocked this challenge and that you could kind of get through it. Because if you don't know the lyrics, that was half the battle, and then you're screwed. But I think about it also from Derek's point of view, right? Imagining that Nicole and I are doing this and she does the challenge. There's absolutely nothing that I can do. There's nothing that Derek can do. There's nothing that Derek can say. The best thing he maybe could have offered in that moment is to say, go back, learn the lyrics, do this. Because at that point, he had to have understood the different components of the challenge. But anybody who's ever been struggling with something knows that people saying, you've got this, or the universe is with you, which we'll get to later, or any words of that sort, or any type of negative, forget about it. If you went negative on the person, like, come on, do it. What are you doing? What's the matter with you? It's a nightmare. You're completely beyond helpless. And that's what Derek said. And I can't imagine sitting there and just being stuck and knowing all these teams have come and gone and come and gone, and there's literally nothing you can do. I really just can't help but think about the other person who's not doing it, and that just total helplessness of it. And I think that's a big, huge component that they were able to weather. And I think Derek did as good a job as anybody could. And then they immediately refocused right into the navigating to make up time. I thought that was key also. Speaking of navigating and that being a challenge, Quinton and Mattie had themselves an interesting leg, didn't they, Lizzy?
They did. God love them. They were so confident. And I'm glad that they stopped and asked for help when they did. I don't know how long they would have gone, just floating along in Germany.
Right.
Without without knowing where they were going. Oh, yeah, makes
For
me
those of you
sad.
who didn't see or just listening here, Quinton and Mattie started in the first groups. They came in third, and they get their maps and they find the place they need to go, except they went to that place on that street in the wrong country. I don't know if that's ever happened before, but that's a pretty gigantic mistake, isn't it, Nicole? I mean, that's, how do you make that mistake? It seems unfathomable.
But these things happen. I can see how that happened. Like there are multiple streets that are called the same thing, even within the same state, probably.
Right, but what's the core thing that they screwed up?
I guess reading the directions more specifically.
Reading the clue.
Clue. Right, the clue said to drive to Innsbruck, or this place in Innsbruck, Austria. Right? Like, come on, Quinton, come on, Mattie.
Clue.
I
Read the
think they
clue.
mentioned that in their interview in the beginning. Something about reading the clue. Like one of them is more patient than the other one. One is more detail oriented. And I remember them, I think
Focus.
reading the clue. One of the teams specifically
That
said
was them. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. And here we
Yeah.
are.
Quinton lacks
Clue.
focus, and Mattie's all about that. But apparently not.
She goes, lesson learned. I'm like, yes, girl. Let's see it going forward.
Amazing that they made up as much time as they did, though.
They did. Thank God it was a dance challenge.
They were lucky.
They were.
But their comeback in the race becomes complete because of a little bit of luck with the detour. After they complete the yodeling, they get to the detour, and their prayers are answered with partners swing or bells ring. And obviously, we know which one they chose. They chose the dancing one, as well as Louis and Michelle, Aubrey and David, because they're all dancers. And then Abby and Will, Emily and Molly, Linton and Sharik, and then Glenda and Lumumba. Can we talk about them for a second? Team Orange, Glenda and Lumumba, the newlyweds, 41 years old, have a great spirit. I think we'd all agree with that. We enjoy watching them and interact. And they have, they're great television. They're a bright spot. They're always smiling. They're having success. Maybe that's part of a big part of the reason why. But I need to, can we talk about their height differences?
That's the only thing to talk about. They have not given us anything else of their relationship besides the height difference and the fact that they've only been together for like less than 3 years, which is about the amount of time that Josh and I have been together, maybe less, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But like, that's it. I don't know anything else about them. I don't know where they're from. I probably could look it up. I don't know what their family is like. I don't know. You know what I mean? It's like, I know that they've been together for a very short amount of time, which they seem to be proud of, and that they are not the same height at all. That's it. That's it. Be more interesting.
They definitely lean into that. And like, he owns it. He flaunts how tall she is and how short he is, and
She owns it too.
so do you, right, so does she. They both very much lean into it, and I think when there's that big of a difference, you have to.
Right. She's
If you
6'2"
don't, then
and
it's
he's
just
5'.
like you're just insecure, and it's just this awkward elephant in the room.
Yeah, he's 5'7" and she's 6'2". That is completely uncommon.
Yep. And I guess I should applaud them more for that. Like, that's so uncommon, and you really have to be confident in yourself and comfortable with your partner to feel that confident about it. And I think that's great. I should applaud them more for that. But as far as being a TV personality goes, Is that all your personality? I
Yeah.
hope more unfolds with them, I guess is what I'm saying.
Nicole, how tall are you?
5'4".
Lizzy, how tall are you?
5'9".
Subtract 6 inches. So for Lizzy, 5'3". For Nicole, what is that? 4'10". What would it take for either of you to date and or marry a guy that is 6 inches shorter than you are?
I dated a guy once that was 2 inches shorter than me.
2?
Only 2.
And what was that like?
I was like wildly uncomfortable. I never wore heels ever.
Right?
I don't know. It was weird, like being intimate, even though no one was standing up, I still was like, I don't know. It obviously didn't last. But I still was like, something just doesn't feel right. And maybe that's an insecurity in me. Maybe it was an insecurity with him. And for those reasons, I applaud Glenda and Lumumba because they are doing what I could not. But for me, it was weird.
Nicole, if I turned into a 4'10" person, would you still feel the same way about me? Being 6 inches shorter than you?
It'd be weird. It'd be weird. It would be a different dynamic.
What
I
would it
feel like I
what
would
would-
have to take on more of the male role, just being taller.
Right, I was actually shocked that Glenda didn't lead when they were dancing,
Right.
especially with the twirling involved. And they even talked about how that was a challenge. And credit Lumumba, like the guy is just a firecracker of a spirit, like leans into it
He's
as
Kevin
much as
Hart.
anybody. And he's like full extension doing the twirls.
Oh,
Full.
yeah.
So we agree that that would be kind of weird. See, I don't think it would be as weird for me if I had a girl that was 6 foot, what, 6 foot. Yeah, if it was 6'4".
That would be weird.
Yeah, it'd be something that you'd have to get used to, people looking at you in a different way, right? I think that's probably the thing I'm circling around most. At the end of the day, they're going to spend a lifetime of people looking at them, and that's tough. That's a tough one. But we're looking at them, and they're doing a hell of a job, 2 straight second places, and I think so far, they're clearly the biggest surprise to me in the race. Is anybody more of a surprise to you guys?
The twins, I was
Mhm.
expecting way worse from them.
Yeah.
They're not great, but they are much more capable than I was expecting.
Yeah,
Agreed.
Emily and Molly had 2 12th place rankings and 11th, and I had them 8th. Yeah, we had them pretty low.
Yeah. I had Lewis and Michelle pretty low. And they're not, again, they're same as what you just said. They're not doing amazing, but they're doing better than I thought they would be doing.
The runner up for me, it's hard. It's probably a tie, but Michael and Marcus, I look like I've got egg on my face from my 12th place ranking of them. They're doing really great. They're navigating better than anybody. People are following them. And it seems like this, well, 2 legs in and navigating on maps has been one of the biggest aspects of the race so far. And they've really done well with that. And I don't think they try to do anything they can't do. Like they're not going to do the partner swinging detour. They did the bells ringing and they eventually got it. Anybody that you're rooting for more so? Anybody at this point that you're rooting for more so than when you first looked at the teams or since we began with the rankings?
High school sweethearts.
Abby and Lee.
I like them more than I originally did at the first impression. We said while watching, they're good enough at everything to get them to skip through.
Right, not too hot, not too cold, just right. They're like baby bear's porridge.
Yes.
But you know what?
Anybody you're
That's all,
rooting for?
that's all it takes to get you to the end. I think I'm impressed with Linton and Sharik, Team Jamaica.
Same.
They're stronger than I would have expected. I have them in the middle of the pack sort of ranking. They are doing better than I would have expected. I'm excited to see what comes from them.
People I'm rooting against, definitely without a doubt, Rich and Dom. It's too much. It's too much. I was hoping that the hat thing would cause them to get eliminated so that the universe was just gonna get them out.
And that would have been such a great way for them to get eliminated. It's
would've
just like a stupid mistake because you're supposed to wear the wardrobe and you didn't follow the directions.
You didn't read your clue. I don't think Rich said one word this whole episode.
They're basically half a team with a big bright light on one person and the other person's just kind of there. Is that what you're picking up to?
In the shadow, yeah.
All right, looking forward. Any final thoughts?
I'm glad that the scramble was not every episode like I was worried it would be.
Ah, yes. I'm glad too. I didn't even think of that as a possibility, but I'm also glad we are back to our regularly scheduled programming of a detour and a roadblock. Yeah.
It's better
That's
off.
enough. That's enough scramble.
It's enough scramble.
Yeah. Good start, but I think we're good now.
So last thing, we'll just update everyone on the rankings. After one episode, Nicole was in first with a low score of 70, Jeremy second, and then Lizzy and I were tied for last place after Asta and Nina were eliminated. And after this second elimination, Lizzy is in last place with 66 points. I am in third place with 62 points. And in a two-way tie for first is Nicole and Jeremy with a low score of 59 points, eliminating their 11th and for Jeremy, his last place ranked team. So we will keep that updated on the podcast, but thank you for joining us tonight. Thank you, Lizzy. Thank you, Nicole. If you're to follow us on all our social media, as we cover the race all season long. Thanks for being here tonight. We'll see you next week.